Welcome to the NFL Draft.
Now you're stuck with us.
It was not an earthquake in New York. That's just some very disappointed Jet fans.
Even if baby got a little something, we ready now.
You got a chance to get Brady Quinn at number 9, and you pass on him? You got to be kidding me.
You cannot go with Jim Harbaugh and pass up Trent Dilfer. Forget it.
Way to mince words, Mel.
Now we just hope that a trade can happen.
Pick him. Let's go.
I was kind of scared. I thought Detroit was going to take me. I would have asked for so much money that I had to put me on layaway.
All right, guys, only 20 days till the draft. So many questions to be answered today. We're going to discuss 20 major storylines leading up to day one. 20 days, 20 storylines. Let's go. Plus, former Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen spotted at the Masters today. Our Marty Smith nabbed the one-on-one interview. Also, Bears head coach Matt Nagy joins NFL Live. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It is snowing here in Bristol, Connecticut. I hope it is not snowing.
I thought we had an agreement to not talk about that.
No, let's just add it at this one side, fortunately for us. And also fortunately for us, 7-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champ, our guest, Dwight Freeney, back in studio with us. Welcome back. Yeah, still here.
You just brushed that off your shoulders?
You reside in Florida, so sorry about the snow here, but you know about that because you're from Connecticut.
I'm from here. There's no golf for me, unfortunately.
It's all right. We got the Masters over on ESPN for you, so you can keep an eye on that.
Absolutely, got to.
Meantime, insider Josina Anderson always keeping an eye on everything in the NFL, and of course, reporter Field Yates. I'm Diana Rossini. The workouts, guys, the meetings, the plannings, all going down as we prepare for the draft in less than 3 weeks. So let's take you through the major topics and begin with number one, really, which is which players will actually attend the draft in Texas on April 27th. So here's the list, right? So we're going to hear from that guy, quarterback Josh Allen, in a bit. Sam Darnold should be there, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, all expected. Saquon Barkley as well. Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield not planning on attending. So little reminder here, in case you haven't heard, top of the draft. This is what it looks like at this point. The Browns sitting at number 1. They've also got that number 4 overall pick. Giants at number 2, followed by the Jets. Of course, they traded with the Colts to move up to that number 3 spot. Round out tops the Blues at 5 and the Colts at 6. So perhaps one of the biggest questions headed into the draft. New GM John Dorsey has a really big decision to make, and that's what to do with that number 1 overall pick. So Field, I want to begin with you. What are you hearing?
I'll say, Diana, I could tell you what I think they should do, but I'll just pass along what I think the overwhelming sentiment within the NFL is, which is that the Browns are going to take a quarterback with the first overall pick in the draft. No major surprise there. The major surprise would be if it was not a quarterback. So then it comes down to this. Which quarterback will it be? And we have this core 4 of quarterbacks that we've all discussed at the top of the draft. And then most specifically, we've heard both Sam Darnold and Josh Allen linked to the Cleveland Browns. At this point, the answer sort of lies in who you ask. Some people think, hey, Darnold's the guy that I prefer. I bet the Browns feel the same way. Others feel as though Josh Allen has so many of the tools, even if slightly unproven and untested over the past couple of years, that he's the guy. Quarterback, though, that much we know.
Well, I was going to be courteous and let the 7-time, 900-time Pro Bowler go next. So go ahead, Dwight.
Well, this is how I feel about it. I feel like they should go running back.
Okay.
I think because of the fact that it's not as deep at the running back position, you can get a guy like Saquon, who's an unbelievable talent, and then you can come back with a quarterback on pick 4. So you can still get a quarterback. You already have a quarterback that's there, all right? So you get a running back, and then get another quarterback at 4. That's what I like.
Yeah, there's only 2 other people I've heard say that on this show, and they're brothers, Tim and Matt Hasselbeck, and they got a lot of heat on Twitter when we tweeted that out, because most people believe that the Browns need to go with the quarterback spot. Joe, what are you hearing in terms of what the Browns are thinking headed into the draft here?
Well, I was actually just talking to a Brown source last night, and I got the distinct sentiment that they're still trying to figure it out. Matter of fact, I was told that they're considering bringing in Lamar Jackson for a visit, despite the the fact that, there's just some internal feelings about how he's handled not having an agent and how the whole thing went down at the Combine, which is what we talked about this morning. But I feel like they have to go quarterback simply because once you passed up on Deshaun Watson and once you passed up on Carson Wentz, I don't think you can go into a third year where if one of those 4 quarterbacks that we're talking about actually does well, they're going to be like, man, the Browns did it again. So simply because of that back narrative that can come after the fact, I feel like that weighs so heavily on this franchise.
Yeah, and just think overall, guys, the Browns could have 2 of the top 5 best players in the draft over the last two seasons. Can they get it right this time?
They can still get a quarterback at 4. I don't understand why they can't. It's a deep quarterback draft. There's a lot of guys they can pick. They can get the running back at 1.
Got to get quarterback first, and then Saquon may not be there at 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they need the quarterback at 1. I don't know.
All right, meantime, we got the New York Giants, right? They finished at 3-13. They've got the new GM, new head coach here. What are they going to do at the number 2 selection? First, though, before we talk about what they're going to do, Dwight, in terms of the quarterback spot there, do you still think Eli's the guy there in New York?
Absolutely. I mean, I think he has the most experience. I mean, experience counts for more or double in the NFL. He can make every throw still. The thing is, they give him a hard time because he didn't have a great year last year. But guess what? If you don't have no offensive line to block for you, I don't care what quarterback you have, they're going to play bad. They're going to be horrible. So I feel like if the running back is still there, Saquon, get Saquon at 2 if he's still there. If not, figure out a way to protect Eli. Get somebody, a lineman, to protect his blind side and worry about the quarterback later on. Eli can still make every throw. He has 2 rings. He has a great core around him. He can still do his thing.
Josina, in terms of how the Giants plan for Odell Beckham Jr. to impact this draft, what are you hearing out of New York?
Well, first of all, that's 2 separate things. I want to answer what you're saying first, and then I get back to that too. But as far as Odell, I still believe that, I was there the day that Morris said that he wants Odell to be a Giant for life. And I feel like Mr. Mara's character and integrity comes out when he speaks, and he's also a businessman. And we know what Odell ultimately does for his business sales, merchandise-wise, in terms of having butts in the actual seats. So I still would remain very surprised if when push comes to shove and Gettleman and all those people in the front office go to Mr. Mayor and say, are you really going to do this? I don't see him saying yes, and not to mention that they're asking for 300 first-round picks and a bag of potato chips, which makes it impossible. And then getting back to your point, which I have to do real quick if you don't mind, you were talking about how you still feel like Eli is the guy in New York. And sometimes you get in an argument with your girl, you have to bring out the notepad because you have to bring out the stats. So I just wanted to say this, okay? He completed 25.4% of his passes, 20-plus yards or beyond, okay? That was 35th out of 37 over the last 2 years. He ranked 26th, completing 41% when he was under pressure, okay? That was 37 again out of 37. And then his QBR going from 61, 58, 46, 44 over the last 4 years, and his yards per attempt going down each of those 4 years again. Eli has not, bottom line is, breaking news, he has not been performing well the last 2 years, Dwight, at all. And it is time to move on. You cannot wait for the trained wheels to fall off the tracks or whatever I'm trying to say.
We know what you meant.
When you're running for your life on every play or every other play, it makes it very hard to complete passes. It messes up the whole entire game. So I know that from a defensive end and pressure standpoint, if you can get pressure on the quarterback, it makes his job so much harder. Throwing off his back leg, it may not translate into the hurries or what have you because it may not have been a blitz or whatever it was. But understand is if you have no confidence in your offensive line, then guess what? The play calling changes. All of a sudden you can't call the same plays because all of a sudden you have no protection, so you can't go down the field. But you need to because it's third and 10. That's the issue. I don't think it's Eli. I don't think it's Eli. Well,
Russell Wilson,
actually,
Aaron Rodgers run around the offensive line.
You know what? Actually, if you have no offensive line, yes, you should run. You should have a running guy.
Another way to expose an offensive line that's poor is to have a great pass rush. And we know that Jason Pierre-Paul was traded earlier this offseason to Tampa Bay. Bradley Chubb is, in some people's estimates, the best prospect in this class. And the North Carolina State defensive end should almost certainly be available for the Giants at number 2. Their GM, Dave Gettleman, certainly has a great affinity for drafting offensive and defensive linemen. He arrived at NC State as a linebacker, finished his career as a defensive end. He can do it all. I mean, like Dwight, you can win with power, you can win with quickness, you can win with speed. He can do it all, the kind of guy that can be a cornerstone.
I love that.
So what have we decided, though, in terms of what they're going to do with this number 2 spot? What's the call?
They need to get a quarterback because it is time to move on from Eli. You do not wait until Eli is done with everything before you move on. I've said it on the show many times. I'm Baker because I like the mobility. I think he would pair well with Odell Beckham Jr. And just to clarify something on the Giants offensive line, they actually ranked 6th in pressure rate last season with the 22.3 pressure rate. So as much as people talked about the Giants offensive line, they actually performed better than they were given credit for with Eric Flowers on the left, although I do think he should go to the right-hand side. I'm just saying. I'm sorry, I've got a couple things I wanted to say about the Giants.
Dwight, we'll get back to you on it. But guys, the Giants, they picked 2nd one time in team history, and they drafted Lawrence Taylor. That was back in 1981, and that worked out, you know. Okay. All right, meantime, guys, let's keep this going. The Denver Broncos with the number 3 pick in March. Of course, they signed free agent Case Keenum to a 2-year deal to replace Trevor Siemian as their starter. So going back to the quarterback conversation here, Josina, I want to go back to you. Do you think that they should draft a quarterback?
Do I think that the Broncos should draft a quarterback? That's a great question for them just because I actually covered a lot of Minnesota Vikings games, and I feel like I had a great up-close and, personal look at how he was performing. And I was very impressed in terms of how he did against very stout competition, like the Panthers and what have you. And I actually, and also the Packers, and I actually believe in Case Keenum now that his confidence has risen. He's had that experience. I'm actually quite shocked that Minnesota got rid of him. I don't think that they should have done that because I always underline the importance of chemistry. And I think that they broke that up in order to get some guy that they just played 100, billion guaranteed. So did I exaggerate there?
A little bit.
So I think they do not need to get a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if they looked at a second option at running back, depending on how high Saquon Barkley goes.
Dwight, do you have confidence in Case Keenum just as much as Rosina does?
Well, put it this way. I think that you have to have a bigger body of work to just say that he's the guy. Okay, I think he had a great year last year, but now he's going into a new system. All right, you don't know how that's going to work out for him. All right, so if I was the Broncos, I would definitely get a quarterback just to hedge my bet, just to make sure I have a guy, because you never know. Something could happen, injuries can happen, but the system may not work out. So you might have to get a young guy.
Here's what Case Keenum allows the Broncos to do. It allows them to let the draft fall to them, which is not something that every team in the NFL can say. The Jets knew that, and they traded up from pick 6 to pick 3 to seize the opportunity. For the Broncos, if one of these core 4 quarterbacks is their preferred option, and he's there pick 5, you should take him because Case Keenum is going to be your starter next year, but he's on a 2-year deal. That's not it's a short-term relationship in NFL quarterback standards. But if your preferred quarterback is not there, maybe Bradley Chubb is there, maybe Saquon Barkley is there, Quentin Nelson, whoever you think is your best option. Again, not to be deferential and sort of toe the line here, but the Broncos can allow the draft to fall to them, whereas other teams who need a quarterback, like the Buffalo Bills as well, they may have to aggressively make their move and use a bunch of draft picks to get there in the process. Yeah,
well, they certainly need to improve at that position. The Browns quarterbacks have thrown more interceptions than the Denver quarterbacks last season. Well, at least only the Browns have. So they certainly need to improve there. Meantime, we actually have some news here in NFL Live. The Patriots are signing former Bills wide receiver Jordan Matthews to a 1-year deal. A source told our Adam Schefter it's a boost to a New England receiving corps that lost Brandon Cooks to a trade this week. Danny Amendola to free agency. He's, of course, with the Miami Dolphins now. The 25-year-old played in 10 games for the Bills this past season. So this brings up the topic of the New England Patriots, right? So Belichick could, for the first time in his coaching tenure, select players with his 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. So what do the Patriots do, guys, with their first 2 rounders? Phil, I want to start with you. What are you hearing in terms of what they're going to do there?
A lot of speculation, and others can certainly feel this way. I do believe that the Patriots, after making just 4 draft picks last year, 4, and 2 of them were third-round picks. Those are their first 2 who neither one of them even played a snap last season. If these 4 picks allow them to replenish the youth of their roster, which not that they have a roster that is simply made up of veteran players, but the best way to build rosters in the NFL now, given the way that the pay scale works, is to have rookies on their first 4-year contracts. It's just the way that teams are able to find value and then dip their toe into free agency. So having 4 picks in the top 63 allows the Patriots to potentially find 4 starters that for at least 4 seasons are at a very manageable price point. When you got good players on the roster like Tom Brady and Gronk and others who are going to need to be paid or are already paid, you have to find ways to balance that. And that's a good example of a way to do it.
There's a lot of talk that the Patriots are going to draft a quarterback. It's something Bill Belichick has never done in his coaching tenure. He has never taken a quarterback in the first round. But at this point, Dwight, do you think that's the next move the Patriots need to make?
Definitely not. I think that they have holes other places. And I agree with you, man. I feel like, you know what, get some picks here. Get some quality players to add depth to certain positions. I didn't know that they picked 4 picks last year and none of them played. So that means even more that they need depth. They need some young guys to get out there and play. So keeping these 2 picks would probably be the best thing they do. They have a great history, of getting guys late in the draft, from a quarterback perspective and developing those guys. I think there's no better system to do that in the Patriots.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that, they have an opportunity actually to get a very mobile quarterback falling down at where they are in the first round, and that could actually add some, dynamic aspects to their offense outside of what they don't get with the, powerful arm with Brady, whether Baker Mayfield falls, whether Lamar Jackson falls. They could add someone like that could also open up the offense for Josh McDaniels. And I would also like to see them get a bruising running back. I think they lost a little bit of that up the middle and in the red zone when they lost LeGarrette Blount. I think they underestimated a little bit of that with him going. At that point, he was leading the league in touchdowns for a running back with 18, and you gave him up and basically got $2 for the Eagles, picked up a Super Bowl ring, and now he's going to make the Lions a Super Bowl champion because what have we talked about?
Everywhere he goes, 2 years, right?
Right, is where the Super Bowl champions go. But I would like to see them get a running back and a quarterback as well.
And if you're wondering about the receiver position, because they've obviously lost some players, that being Brandon Cooks, Danny Amendola, as we mentioned. Belichick has only drafted 1 receiver in the first round, and that was Derek Alexander. That same year, they had 2 first-round picks as well. So we'll see if history will repeat itself, or he'll just do what he always does, which is build on the defense there. All right, still to come here on NFL Live. We're going to dive into the top quarterback prospects in the 2018 draft. We'll explore the pressing questions for each prospect, and still to come, new Bears head coach Matt Southern California for the weather, but it's also a good time to see Sam Darnold, the quarterback, through for a second time at his USC Pro Day workout. Darnold, who was in Cleveland on Wednesday visiting with the Browns, switched his flight back to work out with his Trojan running back Ronald Jones. Jones said yesterday, he's always been the man. Good teammate there, through and through. So the big question is, where will Darnold fall in the draft? We've got 20 days left, and here on NFL Live, we are taking you through 20 major storylines to watch. So let's stay here, guys, and talk a little bit more about this quarterback. And he seems to be liked by so many coaches and teammates that you hear around the league. So let's discuss him actually fitting in the locker room. Josina, I want to start with you. What are you hearing about Darnold?
Well, it's interesting because I feel like I always get a sense of guys when I interview them at the Combine. And I just got a better vibe off of Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. I mean, I know I talk about him all the time, but I loved his confidence. Josh Allen was just so welcoming and open. And when I interviewed Darnold, he was just a little bit of a colder vibe, a little bit more standoffish. And so even though I hear this story about him being a great teammate, I just wonder if he faces a little bit of adversity, how that vibe would carry off in a locker room of men.
Well, playing well obviously solves it all. Darnold completed 65% of his throws over the last 2 years at USC. So let's move on to another quarterback that lots of people have their eyes on. That's Josh Allen, and he can provide for an NFL team an overwhelming physical presence. 6'5", 237 pounds. He's got big hands. That one blemish, a career completion percentage of 56%, well under the level considered acceptable for prospects coming out of college. Are Marty Smith, he got out earlier today at the Masters.
Thanks, guys. Here with former Wyoming Cowboy quarterback Josh Allen. We're going to get to the football in a minute.
Okay.
We're at Augusta National, so we're going to start with golf. Your first time here, right?
First time at the Masters, yes, sir.
It's a long way from Laramie.
It is.
How would you describe this experience?
I mean, it's kind of something you can't really put into words your first time. You know, I was able to do some cool things yesterday, some things that a lot of people aren't able to do. Coming out here, spending time with really great people, obviously yourself, and then getting to see these guys play this great game of golf, man, just the flight of the ball and what they can do with that thing, and it's just a special feeling out here.
Our draft guy, Mel Kiper, has you #1 on the board right now.
Okay.
All right? Tell us why he's right.
I mean, I think that, I'm a really competitive guy, and I think wherever I go, I'm going to give everything to that team. So it doesn't matter where you go. I think that people kind of get lost in the draft process, and they see the draft as the end line, and where, I definitely see it as the starting line. It's not get drafted, it's what do you get to. So wherever I go, I'm going to give them everything and work as hard as I can to help that team win.
What's been the most surprising part of the draft process so far for you?
Most surprising? I don't know. I think that with the agency that I went with, the quarterback coach and the trainer that I have, we went over everything. And throughout the combine, the Senior Bowl, the interviews, I think we prepared ourselves pretty well. I've had a lot of help along the way. Obviously, my family's been right behind me, supporting me the whole way. So I just think that I've been blessed to be around the people that I am.
Last thing, how far can you really throw it? Like if you just wind up and let it eat, how far is that thing sailing?
See those mountains over there?
Uncle Rico. Uncle Rico's in the house. Good luck, brother.
Thank you so
We
much.
appreciate your time. Guys.
Thanks, Marty. I wonder how far those mountains were from where they were standing.
88 yards.
Oh, yeah,
precisely.
Right.
88 yards.
What stood out, though, in that interview is how long the process is for these guys as they get ready for the draft. What is that like as you're leading up to that day?
It's tough. It honestly is. I mean, you got so many people in your ear. You have so much anxiety. You want to just get over with so you can go back to playing football.
Yeah, you want to go out there and just watch the Masters and
Absolutely.
relax, right?
I support that 100%.
Yeah, we know you do.
Absolutely.
Phil, we're talking about his poor completion percentage here, but do you think that this is going to really hurt him when it comes to his stock in the draft?
No, I don't think so, Diane. He's going to go in the first probably 3 picks. That's probably his floor, the Jets at pick 3. But he is a classic case of the golden rule of scouting. You draft traits, not production. And NFL teams have to decipher why that completion percentage was low. Contextualize it. Poor offensive line play, inexperienced wide receivers. Or is it an inaccuracy issue that he has? If that were the case, we wouldn't be talking about him this high in the draft. I think NFL teams believe that the inaccuracy of the completion percentage was more a derivative of many other factors than Josh Allen's arm talent alone. This guy has got so many tools, very toolsy type of player.
And he's been working on it, too. I mean, I talked to him at the Combine about the low percentage. It was like 56, 59, whatever it was last year. And he said he specifically wanted to show that, at the pro day, that he can be accurate while moving his feet. And you see that's what they were trying to highlight there in that video that we were just watching coming into this. And I just love his personality. He reminds me of Carson Wentz when I interviewed him. He has that type of just effervescence and openness when you speak to him. He brings you in.
Mm-hmm. A little different than Sam Darnold as we started. Just a little different at this point. All right, guys. As you know, the NFL Draft is right here on ESPN for the 39th straight year. It'll come to you from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, April 26th through the 28th. Trey Wingo hosting the show alongside Mel Kiper Jr., Louis Riddick, and Kirk Herbstreit. There could be plenty of surprises with this stellar class. Nobody covers the NFL Draft like we do. All 3 days, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Still to come. The Bears made some noise this offseason. One big move was hiring a new head coach. Well, that head coach, Matt Nagy, joining the show. Coming up next. Challenge intellectually because he gets bored easily, basically just saying he's a millennial. So with those quotes being out there, and obviously his head coach knows him well, Phil, do you think that's going to affect his draft stock?
I don't think so, Diana. And I think that although that quote has been discussed ad nauseum over the past probably week or so in the media.
And it's fair because you very rarely hear a head coach of a quarterback headed into the draft talk so we could call it poorly of his starter.
But I think the reality for NFL teams is that some of their evaluation of a player from his character standpoint is talking to those around him, but also you really got to dig your heels into these guys or sink your teeth into these guys during the process of interviewing them at the Combine, bringing them in for your 30 pre-draft visits, conducting private workouts. So I think that Josh Rosen's personality actually might wind up being one of his great strengths because the reality is, we're talking about it's never easy for rookie quarterbacks to assimilate into the NFL. And when the going gets tough, a guy who maybe has some stubbornness to him in a good way might be exactly what you need for a team that's going to be turning to a rookie quarterback early on in his career. Because if you got thin skin and you're easily impacted by others' words or feelings, good luck in this league. It is not for the faint of heart.
Dwight, when you hear about these characteristics of this young quarterback like Josh Rosen, and you know the challenges of the NFL, do you think that those characteristics are going to help him or hurt him once he gets into the league?
The thing is this. I think that a lot is going to be thrown at him once he gets in the NFL. He's going to understand the pressures and what goes along with it. I don't think there's going to be an issue of trying to find ways to motivate this guy to play this game. I mean, the game in that position, especially the quarterback position, comes with so much stress and different things that you have to do. He's going to be overwhelmed with the amount of things that is going to occupy his time. So I don't think, and I don't read too much into this. We'll see what happens, but I think he'll have enough to handle.
Then we have Baker Mayfield, right? Gotten lots of attention there, some comparisons a few months ago to Johnny Manziel. I feel like that's quieted down just a bit at this point, but it seems that Arkansas arrest and the sideline incident at Kansas perhaps could haunt him a little bit headed into this draft. So with all of that being said, is he still a risk for a team? Josina, just from talking to guys in the league, what's their thoughts on Baker Mayfield at this point?
Well, first of all, I think the comparison to Johnny Manziel is very unfair. You have to grade and evaluate each guy individually. I also think if you need a quarterback and you think that this guy is special, that you have to go after him. And the analogy that I would use is last year with the Giants. If you remember what happened with Laramie Tunsil when he started to fall because that video came out in the middle of the draft, and the Giants absolutely needed an offensive lineman. And not saying that anything that Baker Mayfield has gone through was similar to that, but the point is this, is that if that's what you need, go after what you need, because that very well could have, changed what happened with the front office this year. And I think that I talk so much about the leadership characteristic and chemistry and having confidence, particularly your first year, like what the quarterbacks did in 2012 when Andrew Luck and RG3 came out, and those guys were able to be, perform in their first year. I think that he has that swag and that he also has that confidence, let alone the arm that I saw when they played, in their postseason, so to speak, to deliver his first year.
He strikes me as the kind of quarterback prospect that there won't be any gray area. You're either really turned off by what happened with Baker Mayfield in that Kansas incident and the arrest that you referenced in Arkansas, or you absolutely love the guy. You love the confidence he exudes. You see right here, he plants the flag at Ohio State after beating them in Columbus. The kind of player that every single person on his team absolutely loved and was sort of gravitated towards.
Dwight, when you're watching this video, Dwight, what do you see? Do you like this? You like this attitude?
Well, I don't really like quarterbacks in general because I'm a defensive end, and that's just what it is. I like the fiery side. I think he has a past that, yes, it happened. You can't erase it. And unfortunately, you get judged by that in this draft process. Okay, it's not going to go away. It is what it is. Now, I think he's going to be a good player. I like his attitude about things and really going hard and not caring, and you're going to need some of that. There's a fine line though. You have to make sure you keep that right there on that line, because you can go the other way fast, especially with all the pressures that come with this guy.
You certainly can't go back. It seems that all these quarterbacks in this draft are getting attention for different reasons. Quarterback Lamar Jackson, he's getting attention because he seems to be difficult to track down. Of course, we know by now he doesn't have an agent. His mom is representing him, and some teams over the last week we've reported have had a hard time basically just getting in touch with him to set up workouts, set up interviews and meetings. So how do you think that this process here can actually hurt him, Dwight? Do you think it will hurt him when it comes to his draft stock?
I don't know so much about, the agent and that whole deal, because in the beginning, it doesn't play that much of a part of what happens. Now, the 40-yard dash, not doing those things, that can hurt you just a little bit, But as far as the contracts in the first 4 years or what have you, it's pretty much cut and dry in what it is, So I think it's determined on what he does in that pro day, how he performs there, and I think he's going to do well there. I just don't think
But isn't he hurting himself, though, by missing phone calls to perhaps meet with the team that could be interested and maybe take him higher than maybe he would have?
I think that hurts a little bit, but I don't know if a team is just going to just say, you know what, forget this guy just because he didn't, he maybe messed up on a phone call or something wasn't handled right. I think if he's that guy for that particular team, then that team is going to still take that chance and go ahead and get this guy, because he is an unbelievable talent, as you can see, and it doesn't come around often.
I talked to a head coach last night who basically told me that he feels like Lamar Jackson has, alienated some folks in the NFL by simply not having a traditional agent and running himself and having his mom, somewhat help and manage him on the side. But at the same time, they talked about, listen, we still want to try to get this guy in. I talked to another head coach who said he's still in the mix. We think he's productive. They still want to get him in. So to underline your point, if they want him, they'll still find him. However, there is truth that there has been turnoff to the fact of how it's been handled.
Yeah. In terms of where you think he'll land quickly, Felix?
I think he goes in the first half of the first round because teams need quarterbacks. They're desperate for quarterbacks. We always see them get pushed up towards pick number 1.
Yep. All right, still to come here on NFL Live. We've got a special guest. Major move of their offseason was hiring their new head coach and former Chiefs offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy. They upgraded weapons for Mitchell Trubisky, signing a pair of interesting wideouts. Former Jags Allen Robinson signed on the first day of free agency, and ex-Falcon Tyler Gabriel joined soon after. The Bears also signed Trey Burton in free agency, a player rumored to be targeted for the Travis Kelce role in Nagy's offense. And with that, let's join Chicago Bears head coach Matt Nagy. Matt, thanks for joining us. We heard last week you took your coaches on a field trip to Soldier Field. Why was that so important to you, Coach?
Well, for a few reasons. Number one, it's a time for us to really bond and get to know each other as a staff, and we do that in the confines here at Hallis Hall. But let's step out of this building and let's go down to the city here and down to Soldier Field and understand this is where we're going to be spending a lot of our quality time on these game days, and the tradition and the history that's been played on that field. And I wanted those guys to have their hands on and just feel really what's gone on here from the city, the fans, the organization. I wanted our coaches to feel it. So when we get with the players and we talk about it, understand the why and understand when we're out there, man, this is some good stuff. And so they felt it. They had a good time, and then we proceeded to have some dinner afterwards, which was great. It was a great night.
Yeah, I heard the food's pretty good out there in Chicago. And it sounds like you have a clear message with your coach. But with that, let's fast forward to this week where the team began off-season workouts. You held your first team meeting. How did you feel, really, just like a few minutes right before you had to stand up in front of your team for the first time as the head coach?
Yeah, so it was really cool just standing outside when they were all sitting in the room ready. And as you walk down the aisle there, it just kind of gets a little bit quiet. And there's that first initial moment of, okay, all eyes are on you, and the players are ready to hear what the message is going to be. And for about a long 3 seconds, I was able to just kind of pinch myself and say, this is real, but then focus back in and tell the guys, here we are. This is what we've waited for. There's been a lot of time and energy put into bringing everybody that's in that room together, and that was day one. And so we just kind of portrayed the message to them of the culture that we want to build and how it's going to be done. And we're not going to use lip service and talk about it. It's going to be a journey, and it's not going to happen overnight. But with that, understand again now what we did it with the coaches. Let's do it with the players, and let's talk about George S. Hallis and understand who he is and what he's about and where we're at right now. And it's we're coming up here on 100 years of this franchise, and that's a special deal now. Don't take it for granted. And so we did that. We got into the culture part and then some standards and expectations, and it was so neat to see how bright-eyed they were and how into it they were, and I'll never forget it.
Well, Coach, sounds like the hard part is over. You stood in front of them. You got your message out. I remember talking to quarterback Alex Smith last season about his production with you guys in Kansas City. And I have to tell you, he would not stop talking about you. He brought up your name over and over. And I know it's early here, but can you point out any similarities that you've seen between Alex Smith and Mitchell Trubisky?
Driven. Completely driven, competitive, guys that hate to lose and want to win more than anybody. And they don't just talk about it; they show it by their actions. And Alex wasn't a vocal leader. Everyone has different ways of leading, but he's somebody that I learned from as a coach. how not only can you play the game and how serious you take the game, but how we as coaches can become better coaches. And so there's a commitment level, and he does it his way. He didn't try to do it any other way. And just from the last couple of days of seeing Mitch, matter of fact, just 45 minutes ago, I had to just walk down the hallway and listen to all the position coaches teaching this offense to these guys, and it was just music to my ears. It's excitement to hear what's going on, and I just, of course, went to the quarterback room, knocked on the door, and there's Coach Ragone in there just quizzing the quarterbacks and going over different parts of shallow cross and the staples of this offense. And there they are, just on the board, writing it up on the board, and he's listening to them talk back to them. And it does not get any better than that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mitchell does, and I'm going to use everything that I learned through Alex to help him out.
All right, well, they were quizzing him. How did Mitchell do there on the quiz there? Did he sound pretty sharp?
He was on it.
Yeah.
It was impressive. So
right, well,
it was really impressive.
You certainly got him plenty of weapons. You guys loaded up on pass catchers this offseason. So real quick here, I'm going to say one of the receivers. You just use a quick word to describe him, all right? So I say Allen Robinson. You say?
Very multi-dimensional, can do a lot of different things.
I like that you're breaking my rules and just going with as many words as you want, but that's cool. How about Trey Burton?
Mismatch.
Taylor Gabriel?
All around.
I like all those. All right, speaking of weapons, wide receiver Kevin White battled a lot of injuries here since he came into the league in 2015. You said that you look at it as a personal challenge to get him to a place where you want him again. Why did you make this a personal goal of yours, Coach?
That's why we coach, you know, and it's not always roses for every player that's out there. You know, he was drafted at a high position, and there was a lot of you know, he had a lot of potential, and he's at a position right now where, you know, things numbers-wise, there hasn't been the production, but that doesn't mean that he can't produce. And so just wanted to make it clear to him and to our coaching staff and to everybody on this team that no matter who you are, you're going to get a fair shot. And so he's a great kid. He wants to do well, and it's our job as coaches to put him in the best situation possible. And as I said before, there's no promises, but we're going to give this kid every chance, and he's going to work hard at it. We can tell already from talking to him.
All right, let's talk about this year's draft. We are 20 days away. All show long, we've been talking about the top 20 draft storylines, and of course, we're talking about the Bears and what the plans are. So I'm just going to ask you point blank here. What's the plan for the number 8 pick? Come on.
Well, definitely not going to go into what we're going to do, but what I will say is this. Again, for me being a head coach for the first time, we're in the middle of our draft meetings, and so the communication that goes on between our personnel and our coaching staff, for me, is something that I haven't been a part of before as a head coach. So to get to see this put to fruition and to talk through all the different positions and the whys, why does this guy fit? Why doesn't he fit? Is it somebody that we like, somebody that we don't like? And so right now we're going through the offensive side of the ball, and it's really interesting not only listening to the coaches talk about the players on their side, but also listen to the personnel and what they look for and how do we match that together and get it to fit so that come draft day, we're all on the same page.
All right, final question for you, then I'm going to let you go. You're one of 7 active head coaches from that Andy Reid coaching tree, which is an incredible number to think about and to actually show the viewer here. You can see it. We got John Harbaugh, Ron Rivera, Pat Shurmur, Todd Bowles, Doug Peterson, Sean McDermott. So, Coach, which of those coaches are you looking forward to beating the most? Come on, we're putting you on the hot seat here.
Doug Peterson.
Why? Because he's got that Super Bowl ring?
He's got that Super Bowl ring, and he down at the owners' meetings, I could tell he was happy and giddy about that, which well deserved. Is so happy for him. But you know, I have so much respect for every one of those guys that you just showed on that tree, and the ultimate respect, obviously, for Coach Andy Reid. He's my mentor. He's taught me how to coach the game of football. I owe everything to him, and it speaks for itself. You know, these guys that are out there and what they've done. And I've been able to work with most of those guys that you just showed on that list, and I'm very lucky, very fortunate. I owe it all to them.
I know. Doug Peterson was certainly feeling himself just at the combine. I asked him how many times he watched the Super Bowl at that point. I thought he'd say maybe 2. He said 7 times at that point. So he's certainly excited about that Super Bowl win. Coach, thanks so much for joining the show. I know you and your 4 boys are throwing out the first pitch at the Cubs game against the Braves in a few Saturdays. So good luck, and do not take any advice from the U.S. curling team. Take a look at that video. You're definitely not going to want to do that. But good luck to you guys, and good luck to the Chicago Bears this season.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me, Diana. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. All right, guys, still to come here on NFL Live, we have a post-free agency edition of Matthew Berry's Love-Hate. Stick around to see if he's in love with your favorite player.
Gets the snap, throws left side of the end zone, leaping great, Davante Adams. Yes! Touchdown, Green Bay!
Free agency Love-Hate fantasy picks, and he joins us live here on the show along with Field Yates to help us out here.
I know this guy.
Yeah, I know. I love the podcast.
We spent a day or two together.
Just one.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time together. A little too much, I would say. But all good. You guys have all the knowledge when it comes to fantasy. So, running backs. I want to begin with who you love right now.
Yeah, in terms of who improved their value because of free agency moves. And I think you have to start with Jerick McKinnon. You saw Kyle Shanahan there in the tape. And that is a great place to land if you're Jerick McKinnon. Normally, just a change of pace guy. Got a chance with the injury to Dalvin Cook last year to get some love. 6 games last year with 15 or more touches. Averaged over 19 fantasy points per game. Now he goes to San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan in his last 3 years, either in Atlanta or in San Francisco, his running backs, top 8 in running back receptions, top 5 in running back receiving yards. So I think McKinnon's going to be a top 10 player in PPR.
Who would have thought Jerick McKinnon would be a top 5 running back in terms of pay at this time last offseason?
Yeah, so he'll be a trendy sleeper as well. Another guy that I really like, Jay Ajayi. You know, with LeGarrette Blount moving on out of Philadelphia, 181 touches are now available in the Philadelphia Eagles backfield. Jay Ajayi becomes the lead running back on one of the best offenses in football behind one of the best offensive lines. You'll see some Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood, but I think Ajayi will earn the draft position that he had last year, this year in Philadelphia. So value up for Ajayi.
Value down in terms of guys that maybe running backs you're not that fond of right now at this point.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily not fond of, but it's just people whose value lessened because of the moves that happened in free agency. And I'll say LaShawn McCoy takes a hit. Now, he's still going to be one of the first running backs drafted in fantasy, as well he should be. But unfortunately, with no Tyrod Taylor, I don't think people are going to realize the effect Tyrod Taylor had on the ability of LaShawn McCoy to get in space, the mobility of Tyrod Taylor. Look, whether it's A.J. McCarron or Nathan Peterman, that is a downgrade from Tyrod Taylor. The addition of Chris Ivory also tells me they want to lessen the amount of touches that McCoy has. That's not great for fantasy. How about the Dolphins running back? As great as Kenyon Drake was towards the end of last year, and he was a rock star, he had only 2 games with more than 16 carries. Now, Drake is a big play guy. He doesn't need a ton of touches, but the fact of the matter is Frank Gore going from being the lead back in Indianapolis to being a complimentary back in Miami. Fantasy value down for both guys. I think you'll see a little bit more of a committee in Miami, unfortunately. This is a great stat on Frank Gore. Frank Gore has had at least 5 carries in every single game over the last 7 years. Yeah. I mean, that's unbelievable.
I call that productive.
Yeah, he's incredibly steady, and I agree with both of your takes there on players that are down a little bit, just because it's the draft show and some flavor here. I think backfields that could be solved in the draft starts with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, look at how barren their depth chart is right now. If Saquon Barkley gets to pick 7, I will, for GM Jason Light, I will rush the card to the table and submit Saquon Barkley to Tampa Bay. The Browns could take Saquon Barkley as well, which could upgrade their backfield. I think the Giants also need to add one more back to their backfield because Jonathan Stewart is tried and true. He's steady, he's reliable, but he's not the kind of guy that I want as the centerpiece of my backfield for the next 5 years. He's a fine Band-Aid for one season and obviously familiar with GM Dave Gettleman.
I'll also add the Washington Redskins there. They love Chris Thompson as a third down back, but I think they're looking to improve on Samaje Perine and Rob Kelly from last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a running back in one of the first couple of days.
We addressed the running back spot. The receiving corps, wide receivers right now. Which receiver right now's value's up since the end of free agency?
Well, there's quite a few, but I got to go with Davante Adams, who leaps into the top 10, no question about it. Did you know since 2010, the leading receiver for Green Bay in terms of receiving touchdowns has averaged over 11 touchdowns a year? Davante Adams, the only guy in the NFL with 10 or more receiving yards each of the last 2 years. No Jordy Nelson there. He becomes the #1 target for the best quarterback in football with Aaron Rodgers. Graham will get some red zone looks, but Davante Adams in the top 10. How about Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders? All due respect to Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian. Case Keenum is a significant upgrade over all those guys. I think instead of trying to hide their quarterback, which they've done in recent years, they'll tailor their offense to what Case Keenum does. So Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, by getting Case Keenum there, I think both improve their stock quite a bit.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. And just the steady in the quarterback spot, plus an improved offensive line and running game in Denver, that offense could actually be a little bit less chemically imbalanced compared to the defense where it's been over the past couple of seasons.
All right, stock up on them, stock down on who?
Yeah, well, let's start with Jordy Nelson. We just talked about that. You can't underestimate the connection that Jordy Nelson and Aaron Rodgers had together. Last year, with Aaron Rodgers under center, Jordy Nelson only 11.65 yards per catch. That's his lowest rate since he was a rookie. But his fantasy value came from the scoring and the connection they had in the red zone. But now moving to Oakland, where Amari Cooper is going to be the clear number one, seems like John Gruden wants to run the ball even more. Significant stock down, unfortunately, from Jordy Nelson going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. And how about Brandon Cooks? As good as Jared Goff was last year, and he was fantastic, I'm sorry, going from Tom Brady to anyone, that is a downgrade. Cooks is going to take the Sammy Watkins role in Los Angeles, which is a nice role, and it's a trade for Rams, but you have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Todd Gurley out of the backfield. To me, at best, he's the fourth option on a team that is going to run when they're ahead. So, unfortunately, Brandon Cooks, his fantasy value takes a hit as well.
Yeah, again, I agree with both of Matthew's assessments there. I also say that while we are looking towards this draft, 20 days away, I'm also curious if the light bulb goes off for any of these players that were drafted in the first round last year as wide receivers. I was on the Corey Davis will eventually break out train throughout all of last season. Mike Williams obviously dealt with the injury at the beginning of last season. And then in terms of possibilities, look again at the Buffalo Bills and Carolina Panthers depth charts at wide receiver. It's there's not a lot of other players that are competing for targets right now. Zay Jones, obviously the curious off-field incident just a couple of weeks back in Los Angeles, but from an ability standpoint, he was viewed coming into the NFL as a polished product out of East Carolina. We didn't see it last year, but perhaps with a new quarterback, maybe a more evolved passing game in 2018.
I remember covering the Titans this year, and every time Corey Davis would do anything good, I'd be like, go Field. He was right on that one. Good prediction.
We'll be right in 2018.
Yeah.
You'll get it. I have confidence in you guys. All right, still to come on NFL Live, Eagles head coach to the draft. We are getting ready for our fantasy teams already. Can you believe it? Matthew Berry released his post-free agency love-hate fantasy picks. Back with us now alongside Field Yates as well. So let's discuss some quarterbacks. We already talked about the running backs and the wide receivers. In terms of the QB, who do you love right now?
Yeah, in terms of whose fantasy value improved the most with the free agency moves, well, Kirk Cousins. Remember, he was the sixth best quarterback in fantasy last year behind an injured offensive line. And all due respect, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. That is a better skill set positions than he had last year in Washington. 9 games indoors as well. I think Kirk Cousins, his value goes up a little bit. How about Tyrod Taylor getting out of Buffalo, now goes to Cleveland, which Buffalo is a run-first offense. This is going to be more of a pass-first offense. Jarvis Landry, Josh Gordon, David Njoku, Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson at the backfield. The only issue with Taylor is, does he lose his job at some point if Cleveland goes quarterback early in the draft, as many expect? But his value certainly up. And how about Mitch Trubisky? We heard you, Diana, talking with Coach Nagy earlier in the show, talking about all those weapons, Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Trey Burton. I think you'll see a lot more Tariq Cohen this year in Nagy's offense as well. So Trubisky, who's a lot more mobile than people realize, gets some fantasy points with his legs as well, and a fantasy-friendly offense that Nagy will bring over from Kansas City. Speaking of Kansas City, how about Pat Mahomes? Obviously, his fantasy value goes up. He's a starter now. Yeah. Alex Smith now in Washington, which as a Redskins fan, I'm excited about. But Pat Mahomes, with a big cannon of an arm, also a mobile quarterback, obviously Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, get Spencer Ware back as well. There's a lot of nice weapons there for Mahomes, who quarterbacks in an Andy Reid system put up numbers.
When the Chiefs traded Alex Smith, I think a lot of people, myself included, thought, maybe they're sort of recalibrating and going to not necessarily tear this thing down, but build it back up, maybe take a step back to take 2 steps forward eventually. And they signed Sammy Watkins, and it was a reminder that no. The reason why they're comfortable trading Alex Smith is because they're that confident that Patrick Mahomes is going to be a star.
Oh, yeah.
Not a good player, not a starter, a star. He has incredible arm talent, word we talk about a lot during the draft process. But you saw it's one start. I get it, small sample size, but looked very good against the Denver Broncos defense. And at that point was not necessarily its usual self, but still, this team has just a boatload right now of confidence in their incumbent, their new starter, I should say, in Patrick Mahomes. Would not be surprised if he's a player that is drafted in the top 10 of quarterbacks going to, as crazy as that sounds, top 10 of quarterbacks going into 2018.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people have Mitch Trubisky as kind of, could he be this year's Carson Wentz or Jared Goff, guy that takes a big step into sort of fantasy stardom. And I like Trubisky as a sleeper a lot. I have Mahomes ranked higher at the moment heading in. I think, to your point, when Sammy Watkins is your fourth option in an Andy Reid offense, like, good things are going to happen,
Hopefully,
I think, for
Matt
Pat
Nagy.
Mahomes.
Hopefully, Matt Nagy took his earpiece out and isn't hearing you
right,
about his quarterback
of
no way. All right, we got some press coverage from Adam Schefter, guys. Thanks so much. So Schefter reporting that the Rams consider, or this is actually what he's reporting. He's reporting that the Rams release veteran quarterback Kayvon Webster per source. Of course, the Rams added some cornerbacks, and so they added 2 and they subtracted 1. Schefter all over the news.
Yeah, just to note, Diana, he had a cap hit of $4 million, and the Rams needed to create some space to sign Ndamukong Suh.
And they did. Well, it's Masters weekend, and while you can watch the action from Augusta on ESPN, we're going to bring you some draft predictions with a golf twist. Stick around. Live 20 days to the draft, 20 storylines you need to know, except now because the Masters is on ESPN, we got a little twist. So we're going to apply some golf terminology. Fortunately for us, Dwight Freeney is here with us. And listen, we know you got a Super Bowl ring, but your new passion is golf because you've been spending every commercial break here working on your putting, which
it needs a lot of help. It needs a lot of help.
I didn't say it. You did there. So, Field, I actually want to begin with the term mulligan, okay? So the Browns, they've had numerous chances to get it right. So what do they need to do?
Not overthink things. Take a quarterback number 1 overall. And listen, that's not some sort of hot take or some sort of, new insight. The bottom line is this, it's going to be a quarterback at pick 1 almost assuredly, but it's about evaluating the right players and the right traits. What quarterback are you going to commit yourself to and stay committed to? Last year, they named Deshaun Kaiser the starter, and then they were flirting with pulling him almost right away. Whoever you take, we know Tyrod Taylor is supposed to be the starter for 2018. Develop this quarterback. Make that your priority. Don't make it about starting him right away. Make it about developing him into a polished NFL player.
All right. Next word up, hole-in-one, an ace, all right? So, Josina, which player will make an impact regardless of the performance of the rest of the team? Who's going to make that immediate impact?
Baker Mayfield. And he even said that at the Combine, if you recall. He said that he would have an immediate impact on the Cleveland Browns if he were drafted by them overall at number 1. And the reason why I say that is because of the impression that he made on me in person. He exudes leadership and confidence. You feel it. It's palpable. And I feel like if I have, that level of years over him and just kind of equating that to the experience that would be in a locker room, I feel like those men would feel it too. And that's why I think that he would have an impact, not just because of his leadership ability and his confidence, but also because of how he plays. This guy has a very big arm, a very accurate arm. I think he underlined that at the Combine when he said, I'm the most accurate quarterback in the draft. And I think that he can do and show that in his rookie year.
All right, not to put your golf game down, but we gave you in the rough.
They're so often.
A familiar feeling.
Absolutely.
So, Dwight, the question then is, which team needs to get the most out of this draft?
I think it's clear. I mean, it's Cleveland. Cleveland, has 1 win in 2 years or something like that?
Yeah.
So, clearly, they need the most help. They can add depth in so many different positions. Offensive line, you have receivers, you have quarterback, you have so many places that you can just keep picking guys, and hopefully we can find a combination that works.
You think this is the year they get it, though, Dwight? Do you think they can finally turn it around?
Not yet. Not yet. It takes time. It takes time to build a great foundation and build your team's confidence and momentum. So it's going to take a couple years, but this could be a great start.
All right, finally, on the fringe Field, which team is just so close, just a pick away from being an improved team?
The Los Angeles Chargers, who found a way to lose games last year at the beginning of the season. Their kicking woes cost them 2 games at the very outset of the 2017 regular season. You look at where they finished in the standings, and they were a competent kicker away from being in the playoffs. But the offensive line was rebuilt. That's solid. The defense has a potentially all-pro level duo of cornerbacks in Casey Hayward and Jason Verrett. Verrett is fully recovered this offseason, and they can rush the passer. Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, as Dwight noted yesterday, they're one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL. And, of course, you've got the quarterback in Phillip Rivers.
All right, finally, this Saturday at the Masters is, of course, moving day. That's when we really see how it all pans out. So, Joe, I want to ask you, in terms of the draft, which team is most likely to trade up for a quarterback?
I would say the Buffalo Bills. I think they made the move and the trade to get the assets in order to do that, particularly when you see them give up Tyrod Taylor. We all saw how Nathan Peterman performed when he came in. The decision to do that against the Chargers, we'll never know that. And the 5 interceptions that he had in the first half. And then I'm not even sure that the quarterback that they acquired really makes them, even that much better than what they had with Tyrod Taylor. So to me, I think that they made this transaction in order to move up, to get somebody that the city of Buffalo can actually be excited about and can lead from that position.
All eyes need to be on that number 2 pick of the New York Giants. If they're willing to dance, the Buffalo Bills know they got to get ahead of the New York Jets, because the Jets moved up from 6 to 3 with very clear intentions.
Yep.
Get a quarterback.
3 quarterbacks were drafted, were traded up for picks in both of the last 2 first rounds of the NFL draft. All right, still to come. We've been talking a lot about this draft, but we are finally going to challenge teams to make some major decisions. We're going to throw challenge flags. I'm going to do better than I did last time.
Just a little short field.
And this doesn't work very well. Let me just see if I can get in the hole.
Get back to they're trying to go somewhere.
That's the answer right there.
Man, this plan right now is just up in flames.
I'm a grammar nerd. It should not say less, it should say fewer.
We have a few rules, like 1 rule, no trades.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're living in pretend land as it is. If we're going to live in pretend land, we might as well pretend a little more.
Just to continue the grammar lesson, to whom will he be throwing these passes? What does Teddy know about football anyway?
Well,
me and Dan.
oh God.
I counterpunched.
He would just knock me out. Nobody but Todd make me that disgusting.
Who do I need to talk to about that?
By the way, it is less. We're dealing with a singular quantity here.
Just keep your mouth shut. Less is more.
Why not? Do we
mix up these bowls a little bit? Those 30-inch arms going.
It's mean on April 2nd.
You guys are laughing with this serious stuff.
It's go ahead and get it off, Jeff.
No,
what the heck was that?
It's under. Oh, you gotta stand your ground, Jeff Darlington. Come on.
He's too big for that.
Have you ever sat next to Teddy Bruschi for an hour, though? It's a little intimidating.
You feel better? You feel better?
Yes.
Okay, it's not just about the quarterbacks.
It was a fun week here on NFL Live, but it must be the offseason, because you start saying this. Head coaches of NFL teams, Super Bowl winning teams like Doug Peterson throwing out the first pitch. Here he was at yesterday's Phillies game, honoring the late Roy Halladay by wearing his jersey. And how about this, Coach?
Nice throw.
With a strike. Did you know, guys, he was all-state in 3 sports in Washington State in high school. Yeah. Baseball, one of the sports he played. So obviously he has a good memory. Not sure what position he played, but could have been a pitcher. Seems like Doug Peterson is just winning at everything.
I say so. And right now, while Gabe Kapler, the Phillies manager, is getting some heat, Doug Peterson is like the king of Philly at the moment.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And as you heard earlier, Matt Nagy would love to beat him. He says he's been rubbing it in their faces a little bit that he's got that Super Bowl ring. That said, we've been going through the 20 big stories that we're paying attention to, as it's 20 days until this NFL draft. So we are down to our final 4, and our final 4 big stories. It's going to be our challenges. So each of us are going to challenge a team to do something different this draft. Make a difference. So, Dwight, I'm starting with you. Who are you challenging? Throw that flag.
Here we go. This is my challenge.
Ooh, with your baseball.
Yes. My challenge is for the Cleveland Browns. Don't fall under the pressure to pick a quarterback number 1.
You are sticking with that.
I'm sticking with that. It is okay not to pick a quarterback. There's other guys who can make a big difference on your team, and you got to pick number 4, and you can pick a quarterback then. But don't fall under the pressure to pick a quarterback. It's okay.
You just love Saquon Barkley. I think that's what it is. That's what it's all about. All right, Joe, who are you challenging in this draft?
I'm going to challenge the Giants to stay where they are. Don't do anything wild with Odell Beckham Jr. Don't even think about doing anything with Odell Beckham Jr. Do you know what Eli Manning's record is and how many touchdowns he throws when Odell is on the field? This is a guy that makes a difference. You shouldn't even have thought about it. You shouldn't even be thinking about it. And lastly, make sure you get a quarterback with that pick. It is time, as we talked about with your boy Dwight Freeney over there trying to throw the challenge flag like Doug Peterson. I just saw that just now. Get your quarterback. Move on from Eli. I know that's not going to happen, but that's what I think you should do, and get someone who can infuse some youth at that position.
It's a tough challenge. We'll see if Dave Gettleman will listen. Field?
There was a time where NFL teams were hesitant to draft a guard in the first round. Now you should take Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame, in the top 5 picks. He's one of the best players in this year's draft. Those teams drafted in the top 5, don't overthink it. It's too hard to find guards now, so my challenge is to you, top 5 teams.
Ouch!
Make Quentin Nelson a top 5 pick.
Ooh, I like it. I'll keep mine really simple. I challenge the Jets. Draft your first Pro Bowl quarterback since 1983.
For the flag.
Just kidding. Oh, that was so...
That's a bad throw.
Again.
There you go. Hey, watch
Redemption.
out.
Ken O'Brien was your last one. Find one. The Jump coming up next.